G'day everybody, how you going today? It is so very good to see you. Yes, I'm back with another camera announcement, and this time it is Canon. Oh my goodness, things just keep happening. It was rumored just in my last video 2 days ago that Canon were just about to make a development announcement about the R3, and here it is, just a day or two later. The R3, what a super exciting camera. As I said in the previous video, it's sitting in a similar space to the Z9, it having a vertical grip incorporated. Now, we do have a few specs from Canon, so this is pretty exciting for Canon users. It's a pretty exciting camera, it's a highly professional camera, and it looks like the sort of camera that might be replacing or very close to replacing their high-end DSLRs. Canon actually make a statement in this press release that it is not above the 1DX Mark III, but it damn well looks like it's going to be super close. Let's talk about some of the very exciting features we know about so far and the ones that they miss out on telling us. Canon has announced the release of 3 new lenses. We'll talk about those a little bit later on. Let's talk about the Canon R3 in development. Okay, so this is the R3. Where is the R1? Wouldn't we have the flagship, just like we have the A1 and the Z9, seem to be both Sony and Nikon's flagships respectively? Well, who knows? There's plenty of space left in Canon's lineup for an R2 and an R1. R2, a D2 as well. I'd love to share with you what they have put in their press release, and then we can perhaps analyze a little bit what we might expect from the future. Now, there's a couple of things here that I think are super exciting. The first one is this is the first time ever that Canon will be using a stacked BSI sensor. It's the first time for Canon. It's a big deal. Sony have obviously been the king of this space for a little while now with the A9, the A9 II, and the A1. Well, Canon are getting into it, and of course Nikon recently announced with their development announcement that they are also getting into it. For those that don't know what that means, when it's a stacked sensor, it allows the sensor to run at much higher speed. What we're going to be looking at here is a camera that runs at 30 frames per second. That is ridiculously fast, and of course it's the same as the A1. It could be that the Nikon is running at 20 frames per second. That was the information that I received just a few days ago, but of course we don't exactly know the veracity of that information. Someone also in my comments suggested, well, it may well run at 20 frames per second full frame, but why could it not run faster, say 30 frames per second at DX? Well, that's a really interesting idea, and it kind of is a compromise of, well, you're doing sports, which is usually long reach, you're doing wildlife or birding, which is usually long reach, so that's actually when you want the high frame rates. There's a great deal of logic in that. And of course, the Sony does 30 frames per second at 50.1 megapixels. That is an amazing achievement. What we don't know, what Canon has not told us with this press release, is what is the megapixels of this camera. And I think that's pretty critical. We don't know. Now, Canon state here that in their press release, the currently in development EOS R3 is based on the concept of high speed, high sensitivity, and high reliability. The EOS R3 will be introduced into Canon's lineup of professional and enthusiast cameras that includes the EOS 1DX Mark III flagship DSLR released in February 2020 and the EOS 5 series, including the EOS full-frame mirrorless camera released in July 2020. The EOS R3 aims to provide a professional level of quality for both stills and video capture, even for moving subjects. So Canon also talk about the fact that at 30 frames per second, they will be able to maintain their AF tracking. They will be able to maintain exposure control. And they're also talking about the fact that they've got machine learning enhanced AF tracking, which will be able to track different types of subjects, more subjects than the current R5. So this is a really interesting development. And of course, we've started to talk about when does machine learning, artificial intelligence, and all those things come into DSLRs, which we find in phones. Perhaps the most curveball headline of all of this, which I'm personally super excited about because I'm a massive nerd and I was aware of this 20 years ago when buying cameras. Canon had a camera out where in the viewfinder it followed where your eye was looking and it based focus on where your eye was looking in the frame. Now that hasn't been around for 20 years, but Canon are bringing that technology back with the R3 and are saying that eye tracking will be part of this camera. Now, the world has changed, technology has changed so much in the last 20 years, multiple powers of in that time, and I would suspect that this will be a much more refined and successful system than it was 20 years ago. And if that's the case, this could be a ridiculously compelling thing. It's certainly something that I've kind of always dreamed about. You just kind of look and it gets focused on. And personally, I prefer that over auto face detection. I was using it the other day for my 6-year-old's birthday party. There were 14 people in the frame. I wanted to jump around to different faces, and sure, it found faces, but it didn't really know which one I wanted, and I just wanted to keep moving it around. So in the end, I went back to manually choosing where I wanted the focus to be. Not because it couldn't find faces, but it just couldn't get to the right face quick enough, and people were in layers and it didn't know whether to jump sideways or down or whatever. Sometimes it's easier to just do it manually. And of course, there would be nothing easier than just looking at the part of the frame where you want to focus. I mean, how exciting is that? That would be amazing. So I'm pumped about this technology. And this may well be something that Canon have a patent for that both Nikon and Sony can't get anywhere near. Who knows? I'm not sure I've seen anyone else do this. Please do let me know in the comments below if you're aware of any other camera manufacturer that uses an EVF or a OVF that's been able to do this in the past. I'd be super interested. What don't we know about this camera? Well, we don't know the megapixels. We don't know anything at all about the video. We don't know anything about the card slots. We don't know anything about the battery. Is it one large battery or two smaller batteries? We just don't know. But what is super exciting is, and this is great for the whole industry, this is great for everybody, is that we have seen Sony, Nikon, and now Canon all talking about high-end or flagship cameras in each of their mirrorless ranges, all within the space of, I don't know, something like a month or 2 months. We've had all of this information come out. So we can probably reasonably roughly say that by the end of 2021 or within the next year, all three manufacturers are going to have flagship cameras out, and then it's simply a matter of you choosing the one that best suits your needs, and it doesn't have to be so spec driven, which to me it never has been. It's about how it feels in the hand, it's about the ergonomics, it's about how does it sound, all those sorts of things. Do you like the look of the camera? Do you actually like its industrial design? I've always struggled between sometimes lusting the Canons over the last 30 years and lusting the Nikons. They've each had their time at the top of being the coolest looking cameras from my personal perspective, and it has changed. I love how this R3 looks. I think it looks awesome. I think it looks rugged, and it looks like you could take it into space. It's just great to see beautiful industrial design continuing in this space. Let's quickly talk about the new lenses. Well, we have a 400mm 2.8 and we have a 600mm f4. Now, what seems to be strange about these lenses is they are, by the look of it, the EF versions with simply an adapter bolted on to make them fit the shorter mirrorless mount. These lenses are not very old, they're just a couple of years old, so they're great, but they are not new lenses optimized for mirrorless by the look of it. Interesting, look, it gets them to get their lenses out, and we think that Nikon are going to have a 400 and a 600mm out hopefully this year, so perhaps that's why Canon is doing it. It does seem right now that all these companies are absolutely rushing to get their gear out. The final lens to talk about is the 100mm macro 2.8. This sounds like a really exciting lens which has the capability of adjusting the bokeh on the fly. How cool is that? Exciting announcements from Canon. I think all of this is very exciting. It's great for all of the photography industry. Please let me know your thoughts in the comments below about the R3 and about these new lenses. I'd love to hear your thoughts. How many megapixels do you reckon it's going to be? So fantastic to see you, and if this is your first time here, I would love to see you again, so please do subscribe. Please share, please click on the bell to make sure you're notified, please like, and if you'd like to see over 300 episodes right now, you can just look down there. Alright, I will see you very soon. Bye for now.